This morning, as we get ready to dig into the text, if you have not been with us over this series, we're in week 4 of our series on Song of Solomon, and we this last week began with the idea or the theme of courtship. So courtship Part 1. Today we're continuing Courtship Part 2, and it's this idea where we are taking dating from just a date that doesn't necessarily mean anything, with zero expectations and zero stipulations, to now we are going to take it a step further, and we are taking it into a courtship model, which is saying, hey, we're going to begin to date exclusively. And so what we've seen over the course of the last week, I want to encourage you, if you were not here last week, or if you've not heard Steve's message from last week on part 1, I want to encourage you, go back and listen to that at some point. It is great, and I'm going to refer it back to it here in just a little while. But this morning, reflecting back on the things of last week, what we see from Solomon and his future bride is they're in this anguish, if you will, of their desires for one another. But what we can see clearly illustrated from both of them is that their character outshines their chemistry for one another. That they remain true to who they are rather than trying to look or to impress someone. That they're solid with who they are. We watched their relationship begin to blossom and flourish, and we watched as they began to date in a community, and then they began to date in public, and now their love and their desires for one another are beginning to grow deeper and deeper. And so today, what we're going to do is we're going to step into a few verses where this woman is letting it be known to Solomon how she feels about him. In these following verses here in just a few moments, we're going to see that this woman is head over heels for Solomon, that this woman wants Solomon to be hers, and she desires to be Solomon's. But I think this is important as we begin today to think about this truth. If you are into titling your messages, this may be the title. I didn't make it a title, but I think it's a good thought for all of us in this room. And it's this: the posture of your heart determines the pattern of your actions. Wherever your heart is what is going to bleed out. Overflow of your heart is what is going to bleed out into your actions of your everyday life. In fact, don't let me say it. Let's look at what the scriptures say. Here in Psalms, it says, "Create in me a clean heart, O God, and renew a right spirit within me." In Proverbs, it says this: "My son, give me your heart and let your eyes observe my ways." Not my desires, not my thoughts, not the things that I want to see unfold, but give me your heart in such a way that you would observe the Lord's ways. This is what he continues and says here: "Keep your heart with all vigilance, for from it flows the springs of life." When you are able to set boundaries in your life, when you are able to create in your life a heart posture that is seeking after the things of the Lord, then that is going to help direct every other aspect of your life. And Luke says this: "The good person out of the good treasure of his heart produces good, and the evil person out of his evil treasure produces evil. For out of the abundance of the heart, his mouth speaks." So as we take a look today at this relationship between this man and this woman and how it applies to us and to our lives and how we are to better shape our lives after this and model it after this, this is what we need to remember here, is that healthy relationships start with a surrendered heart, not techniques. Listen, I know that there are so many self-help books, so many great books out there that walk out what it looks like in dating and marriage and engagement, then marriage, and all the things, and what you're supposed to do to prepare for a wedding and a marriage and all the things. But listen, if your heart is not surrendered to the Lord, then everything else is going to fall out of whack. So hear me this morning. What we're getting ready to read in this text is a man and a woman whose heart is surrendered not just to each other, but to the Lord. And so their desires for each other are longing because they are excited about what is to come next week on the wedding day. But their relationship is healthy because they have surrendered their heart. So let's pick up verse 15. If you have your Bibles, you can go ahead and turn there. Chapter 2. And here we go. This is what it says. Catch the foxes for us. This is the woman speaking. She's proclaiming to her man, I need you to do this. Last week, Steve spoke a little bit about what the foxes were. We're going to break down that thought here in just a moment. But this woman is saying, hey, you need to catch the foxes for us. That's your job. That's your role. The little foxes. You need to watch out for these things. Now, what would happen in this time and when she's writing and proclaiming this truth is, Steve mentioned this last week, but there would be the vineyards that would grow. And as they're producing fruit in the springtime, what would happen so often is that foxes would get over or under the walls or the boundaries that would be set up or made, the fence rows, if you will, or the stone that hinges, if you would, that would be there to not allow for animals to get into the vineyard. And so what the woman is saying is, hey, there are these foxes, there are these things that are creeping into our vineyard. And so this woman, clear as day, is saying, hey, listen, your role is going to be that you are to protect our vineyard. You're going to protect our marriage. You are going to be the protector to make sure that these foxes don't come into our life. And these foxes, what they would do is that as they would get in, they would eat the blossoms of the fruits or the flowers as they would begin to sprout, so that the plant itself, the vineyard itself, would begin to die off. And so people would build these barriers. But what foxes, being sly, being what foxes are, would find ways to dig under or to get in somehow, and then they would build their den inside of the vineyard. And what this woman is saying is, no, listen, these little foxes with this den, we need to get rid of them. You need to protect our vineyard. You need to protect our lives from these foxes. So there are so many ideas of the different foxes out there in the world today. But I want to, just for a few moments, I want to focus on two. Two that I feel, especially with this demographic in this room this morning, that would help in the long run. So here's the first one. Fox number one, how far is too far? Now, I don't want you to raise your hand, but I'm sure you've been in a situation where maybe you've asked this of yourself, or maybe you've been in a situation where you've heard this question asked of you. How far is too far in regards to a relationship, in regards to sexual purity? How far is too far? I get the privilege, I shared earlier that I'm one of the pastors on staff. I get the privilege of being the college and young adult pastor. And I love getting to do that, to speak life and truth into college and young adults. And this is, we every spring, we do a series, a whole love, dating, sex, relationships, marriage series. It's one of my favorite series that we do. And each year, we have different people that come in and sit on a panel. And we allow, for 4 weeks during the series, we allow questions to be asked of the college and young adults to write in and to ask of things that pertain to love, sex, marriage, dating, relationships. And let me tell you, I take them all together, I compile a whole list, and then we ask the questions. And this question is by far the number one overall question that is asked. In fact, if I were to put together a whole sheet of all of the questions that get asked, I would come up with 4 to 5, sometimes 6 pages of questions that are being asked. And I would have just about a full page of this question alone from our college and young adults. But hear me say this, I'm not throwing them under the bus. But I think many of us have struggled with this same question. How far is too far? How close can I tiptoe to the line without it becoming sin? Hey, let me ask this question. Why are we asking the question, how far is too far, instead of asking the question, how can I be more holy? Now, I say that not to cast stones and throw rocks, but what if we went into it with this mindset of, you know what, I'm not trying to tiptoe up to the line, but instead, I'm gonna make sure that I'm guarding my heart and I'm guarding the heart of my future spouse. And so therefore, because of that, how can I be more holy? How can I be more set apart from the things of the world? And this is what Paul says to the church in Thessalonica. For this is the will of God, your sanctification, that you would abstain from sexual immorality. And in verse 4, he continues, that each one of you know how to control his own body in holiness and honor, not in the passion of lust like the Gentiles who do not know God. Why are we asking the question, how far is too far? Or how close can I get? But instead, what if we begin to ask the question, how can I be more holy? Fox number 2, secret sins. Secret sins, these are those things that begin to eat away at you. And because they eat away at you, ultimately what happens is they begin to eat away at your relationship. These secret sins would drive a wedge in between you and your future spouse or your spouse. These secret sins are not meant to be played around with. Well, it was just one innocent text. Well, it was just one moment where I looked online at some images, and let me tell you, I know where secret sins lead to. Secret sins, I've met with enough people that have fallen into the trap of struggles in their life, and they've not been able to break the habits of the secret sins. This is what it says in Ephesians 5. But sexual immorality and all impurity or covetousness must not even be named among you, as is proper among the saints. This can't even be said about us. In Matthew, he says this, but I say to you that everyone who looks at a woman with lustful intent has already committed adultery with her in his heart. So here's the truth. This is what we've seen. Hidden habits eat away intimacy. That intimacy that was designed for you and your spouse, your future spouse. Hidden sins, your past sins that you have not made known or voiced to them. Those things eat away at your intimacy. It's those foxes that she's talking about. We need to kill these foxes. We need to make sure that these foxes aren't in our lives. I've heard it often said that we focus so much on the little sins that we in our own eyes, we get so caught up in those little sins, and we say, you know what, it's not a sin, and we try to justify the little things in our life. And then what happens is, because of our justification, which is the wrong justification, it leads to an even bigger fox being able to live in the vineyard. So here's the first takeaway of the day. Small foxes become big fractures. Ultimately, that small fox that's in your life is going to grow, and it's going to mature, and it's going to be a bit even bigger fox. I've heard the same thing in the context of a spider web. And a spider, right? A story of a woman who, scared to death of spider webs, had a spider web in her room. She goes in there and gets a broomstick and clears out the spider web. And the next day she wakes up and there's another spider web in the same spot that it was the night before. She does the same thing, and the next day she wakes up and there's another spider web in the same spot. And she's like, how in the world do I get rid of the spider web? And the truth is, the only way to get rid of the spider web is to kill the spider. Because if not, the spider web will continue to come every night. And the truth is, in our own lives, the only way that we can kill those big foxes in our life is to get rid of the little foxes and don't allow them to become big foxes. Small foxes become big fractures. So this is my prayers. I've been studying and reading over this, and the writer of Psalms, incredible job here, says this. Maybe this will be your prayer. Search me, O God, and know my heart. Try me and know my thoughts, and see if there be any grievous way in me, and lead me in the way everlasting. May that be our prayer, that the Lord would seek us, or the Lord would search us and make it known to us, those little foxes in our life. Then in here in verse 16 and 17, the woman begins to use some language. This language here, my beloved is mine and I'm his. That's a covenantal language that she's using as she's longing the day that is to come in just a few days of their wedding day. But she's using this language that she is expressing how she feels and desires about him. And she continues here and says that he grazes among the lilies. Okay, the lilies is a reference back to chapter 2, verse 2. So, and what Steve talked about last week, you can go back and listen to that again. But you can revert back to verse 2. You can see here the lilies, and he's grazing among the lilies. Now, this idea of grazing would be one of a shepherd. If you think of a shepherd and a shepherd is his job is to protect and to lead as the sheep are grazing. And so what she's saying is he is going to be one that is leading me. He is going to be one that is protecting me. And then it continues, and she says, among the lilies. The lilies in Solomon's temple, lilies were everywhere. They were a picture of royalty. They were a picture of majesty. So this idea of lilies is something that what she is referring to as pure and holy. It's sacred spaces. So what she's saying is, hey, he's leading me, protecting me, and he's staying with me in these sacred places. And then she says this, until the day breathes and the shadows flee. Now, this image here is one of that of morning time. So what she's saying is, hey, he's been with me all night, and I can't wait for that day when he is with me all night. And until the day breathes, which means the morning is coming to life and it is beginning to breathe and everything is coming to life. And then the shadows flee, the sun arises, which means when the sun arises that the shadows flee. And then she says this, turn, my beloved, and be like a gazelle or a young stag. Now, ladies, I'm going to give you a little tip here. Those of you that are married in the room, married ladies, here's a little tip. If you call your man a gazelle or a young stag, he will take great pride in that. A gazelle in this period, a gazelle was something that produced and had speed and power. It was something that was looked at as very quick, very fast. And then a young stag, this idea of this beautiful, majestic, they were looked at as majestic animals that were just pure of muscle. And as they would run or as they would climb the hills and the mountains, you could just see every muscle detail in their body. In fact, hey, don't take my word for it. Look at this. This is a young stag. Yeah. Some of you guys right now are nudging your wife like, hey, I want to be a young stag. First service, some guys are like, we're having shirts made that say young stag on them. But this idea of what she's saying is, hey, I want you to protect me. I want you to lead me. And the reason that I want you to do all that is because I know that you are powerful. You are strong. Listen, women, if you want to help stroke a man's ego, let him know how powerful he is and how strong he is. Let him know those things. Grab a hold of his arm and say, ooh. But she continues. She doesn't just say, I want you to be like a young or a gazelle or a young stag. She says this, that I want you to be on the cleft mountains. Now, I'm going to pause here for just a moment. This idea in some translations, NASB, if you have the NASB, it says this, mountains of Bethar. I don't know if any of your translations say that. This is the ESV. It says cleft mountains, but the mountains of Bethar, okay? Now, I'm gonna give you, if you have your Bible and you have the map in the back here, I'm gonna give you 30 seconds to try to locate the mountains of Bethar, okay? Ready? Go. Okay, you can stop. The mountains of Bethar are not a literal place. They're not. Some of you are like, what? No, let me break it down here for you, okay? Mountains of Bethar, what this woman is saying, this word Bethar translated in Hebrew means this, means separation. Mountains of separation. And so ultimately what this woman is saying here is she desires for Solomon, she desires for her man, when the time is right and the day has come, when the marriage is made and it's consecrated and it's happened and it's real life, within the confines of marriage, she is longing for the day where her husband is lying between her breasts. That's what she's saying. That's the cleft mountains. And so this woman, she's just laying it all out there for Solomon. Solomon, this is what I am desiring from you. And here's the truth. As we are here in the moments before we get to the wedding day. Moments before we get to the wedding day. Those of you who are now married and you have experienced the dating, the courtship, the engagement, you understand how hard it is to remain pure the closer you get to your wedding day. And that's exactly what's happening in this moment. The closer you get to marriage, the more temptation that you're going to experience. But here's the reality. God designed desire is good, but it needs the right timing. The desire is okay. The desire is good within the confines of marriage, but it just needs the right timing, which is therefore marriage. And this woman is just expressing, Solomon, I am longing for the day when we say our vows and our marriage happens. You see, the truth is, real love guards the other person's holiness. Real love guards. It's not a question of, hey, how far is too far, because men aren't really emotionally connected, as Steve talked about a few weeks ago, not emotionally connected with a woman, whereas a woman gets all in emotionally. And so how far is too far? It may mean one thing for a guy and a completely different thing for a woman. But here's the reality. If both of you set the boundaries and both of you say, hey, listen, God's design for our desire for one another is good, but it is only good and it is only pure in the confines of marriage. It needs the right timing. God's design for desire is good. This is what Hebrews 13:4 says. Let marriage be held in honor among all. And let the marriage bed be undefiled. For God will judge the sexually immoral and adulterous. Here's takeaway 2 of the day. Desire is good. Discipline makes it holy. Self-control. Being able to withstand the passions. That makes it holy. She's longing for a time when this is coming. And her longing and her desires and making her desires known then turns into a dream, which is where we pick up in verse 1 of chapter 3. In this dream, she begins to voice, and it's almost as like a hallucination, if you will, or she's just this far-fetched crying out, this longing for what is to one day be her husband. The anticipation is growing. She's showing something that women barely showed in that time, which was an urgent pursuit of Solomon. This wasn't just her saying, I want him. This is her saying, I need him. Verse 1 says this. On my bed night, so now we're at nighttime, I sought him whom my soul loves. I was longing for him. I was ready for him. I sought him, but I found him not. It wasn't there. So what did she do? So I will rise now, and I will go about the city. Now, it's nighttime. In that time period, when it was nighttime, women did not go outside. They would stay inside, and they would be sure that they were safe. So they would not venture out. So for her to say, I'm going out, means that she is literally not thinking straight. She wants her man. I'm going outside. I'm going about the city. I'm going in the streets. I'm going in the squares. I will seek him whom my soul loves. But I sought him, found him not. Then in verse 3, it says this, the watchman found me. The watchmen would have been the people who would have watched over the city, hence their name, watchmen. And they would have patrolled, if you will. They would have walked around just to make sure that the city was safe from all outside ambushes or invades. And so they would also make sure that the inner city was fine and taken care of. And so the watchmen, could you imagine the watchmen as they walk up to this woman who was walking around the street at night, knowing that women did not go out into the street at night. And they walk up to this woman. They found her in the city. And she asked the question, have you seen him whom my soul loves? And these watchmen, no. She's longing after someone. And then she says this in verse 4. Scarcely had I passed them. She had just gotten past them, and when she got past them, guess who she finds? Him. The one in whom my soul loves. And she says this, I held him and would not let him go. This is another beautiful imagery of the covenantal marriage agreement that is found in Genesis chapter 2, verse 24, that's found in Ephesians 5, 31 and 32. It's what is spoken over many couples as they get married, right? That a man should leave his father and mother and cleave to a woman, and the two shall become one. And it's that beautiful picture of what is getting ready to come for them. It's a beautiful picture of what Christ did for his church. It's this moment right here. I held him and would not let him go. Now, I just want to ask this question for the ladies in the room. Do you see the desire that she has for her man? Are there any ladies in the room? Okay, thanks. I held him and I would not let him go. And last night, as I was finishing my study, my last minute little bit of prep, I ran into the bedroom and I asked Andy, my wife, I said, hey, babe, where is this picture? And I described the picture to her, and she did her little magic work and sent it to me. I inserted it in, and this was us. No. We didn't do a first look. This is us on our wedding day, holding hands around the corner. We're praying for each other and over each other and for us and our marriage. And that's what's happening in this picture. And let me tell you, as somebody who does not get nervous, I can speak and literally have been able, in the privilege of being able to speak in front of thousands of people. I do not get nervous. I speak for a living. I do not get nervous. I've played sports all my life. I've got ice in the veins, what all the cool kids say. Let me tell you something. This moment right here, I was wigging out. Like, I'm holding Andy's hand around the corner, and in my mind, I'm thinking, holy cow, the moment has come. And in just a few moments, I'm getting ready to see my bride walk down the aisle. My hands are getting sweaty just thinking about it. And I love this picture right here as we think about this idea of getting to hold on to and not let go. Let me ask you this for you married couples in the room. Do you desire your spouse more today than on your wedding day? Do you desire to be with your spouse more today than you did on your wedding day? Let me tell you, and she's in the room, but I would still say it without her in the room. I said it first service, all right? She wasn't in here. I desire my wife more today than I did in this moment. Listen, there is this bond that has come between us where I never want to let her go. Let me ask that question again. For those of you who are married in this room, do you desire your spouse more today than you did on your wedding day? Because here's the truth. The marriage is more important than the wedding. Ladies, let me tell you, I'm a product of it. I know that there are many of you who are single, who are engaged. In fact, we just had one of our college and young adult couples get engaged yesterday. Yeah. Like, we're just, like, that's what's happening. And like, we're just producing engaged couples. That's what we do. But let me say this. The day that we got engaged, I remember it. We get in the car and we're driving back, and of course I'm like, she said yes. Step one done, right? So for me, in my mind, I'm like, all right, hey, what do I need to do for the wedding day? Like, what do I need to do? I'm ready. Tell me, give me the list of things. And here was her list. Show up on August 4th. Got it. Like she had the whole Pinterest board. She had everything laid out, what our colors were gonna be. She told me that day what I was gonna be wearing on my wedding day. Not my wedding day, the day that I got to be a part of a wedding day. She told me all of that. But let me tell you something. One of the things that I've learned over the course of the last 13 years is that our wedding day was awesome, was great, but our marriage is so much better. And everything that comes within the marriage is so much better than the wedding day. So Song of Solomon here in Song of Solomon, verse 5. Their wedding day is getting close, just around the corner. Not here yet. Just a few days, hearing all of this about the dream. And he says this. Whoa, easy. Being a man of character. He says, I adjure you, love, cupcake, sweets, sweetheart, whatever your pet name is. Hers, it was Daughters of Jerusalem. By the gazelles or the does of the field. I want you to pause. I want you to be careful. I hear what you're saying, but I want to be sure that we do not stir up or awaken love until the time is right, until it pleases. Right now, I'm not acting upon the ways that I'm feeling about you as well because I want to remain pure, not just me, but I want to help you in remaining the same way. I'm not asking the question, how far is too far right now? I'm saying, how can I be more holy and how can I make you more holy? Solomon's saying, let's pump the brakes. He remembers back to what Cain was told here in Genesis. If you do well, will you not be accepted? And if you do not do well, sin is crouching at the door. Its desire is contrary to you, but you must rule over it. Your fleshly desires, you must have control over. And oftentimes, in speaking with college and young adults, I hear this a lot. It's this idea that all of the rules and the commands that God is giving us is taking away our joy. And this is actually the truth of it here. God says, wait, not to kill joy, but to protect it. You see, listen, that's a lie and a falseness that is fed to us straight from the pits of hell that God desires to take from us our joy. No, God, actually, the contrary, God desires to give us joy, give us life and life to the fullest. Listen, what the enemy wants is to be able to steal, kill, and destroy. Not just your joy, but your life. And these temporary pleasures that you get to experience or that you've been experiencing, those things are killing your joy. It's not the commands of the Lord. Those things are killing your joy, and eventually, because those things have become little foxes, those things are going to kill your vineyard. Those things are going to kill your intimacy. So what Solomon's saying here is, no, listen, I want us to be aware. Paul says this to the church in Corinth, flee from sexual immorality. Every other sin a person commits is outside the body, but sexual immoral person sins against his own body. And then he continues and says, or do you not know that your body is a temple of the Holy Spirit within you, whom you have from God? You are not your own, for you were bought with a price. And because of all that, because you were bought with a price, because you were brought into that covenantal language, glorify God in your body. Make it holy. Now listen, as we get ready to close out this morning, if you're in this room and you've tiptoed the bounds, or maybe you've just jumped straight across the line of how far is too far, and you've been exploring all sorts of options. Let me tell you something. There is no too far gone for Jesus Christ. So no matter your past, no matter your past mistakes, your past relationships, your past thoughts, your past actions, no matter how far you have gone, let me tell you, there is always room for you to repent and to turn back to God and to start new again. And all you have to do is say, Lord, I'm sorry. Will you forgive me of my sins? I want to start fresh and I want to start new. You see, it all begins with the posture of your heart. And the posture of your heart will determine the pattern of your actions. So I want to leave you this morning with 3 charges. The first one, for those of you who are single, dating, or courting, or engaged. Here's my challenge. Guard your vineyard. Pursue purity. I get asked the question often, how do I know when it's time for me to get engaged? How do I know when it's the right time? Here was the answer, the exact answer that I gave to a student this past week. Here it is. Are you ready? And here's how you know you're ready. Have you matured enough to withstand the passions of your desires? Because here's the reality. If you have not grown enough maturity-wise to be able to withstand the passions of your own selfish desires, how are you supposed to be able to lead someone else in their own temptations? How are you supposed to be able to lead someone else in their own lifestyle? Because it's not about, in a marriage, and those of you who are married, you know this, it's not about just me, mine, myself. It's about ours. And it's about how I can best lead my wife. It's about how I could best lead now my family. It's not just about me and mine. Second question, or second thing for those who are married in the room. Keep pursuing each other. Keep pursuing each other. Hey, laugh a lot. Love a lot. Pursue Christ, and as you're pursuing Christ, continue to pursue each other. And the last thing for everyone in the room, give your heart fully over to Christ. And allow the posture of your heart to determine the patterns of your actions.